sadness a learned human experience, or are we born with all emotions? It's an oversimplification to say that when we're young, we're too innocent to feel actual sadness, so we're always happy and then must learn sadness with maturity. But I still think that there's a little truth to this common conception. At least for me and the people that I know, when we were younger, we'd get upset when the world got jumbled, but our outlook on life was nevertheless hopeful. But as I've grown up and gotten older, this mentality drastically changed. I began to spend less time playing outside or doing crafts to do homework. Every year, it felt as if all of my free time was getting absorbed by schoolwork, only to realize that the next year would be even more demanding. I was confined in a cage of anxiety where the cynical half of me just grew. To be clear, I've always valued the pursuit of knowledge, which is part of the reason why I still work hard to do my best in school today, even though it comes with stress. But at that time, there was still another reason. I never wanted to look past the immediate problems in my life. Getting out of the stress cage and going against the current just seemed too hard. So I gave up on life before I started living it. I would always joke around with my friends about how we'd perish or how I wanted to die without actually considering how it would negatively affect our subconsciouses. Then, in my freshman year, we read the story, Contents of the Dead Man's Pockets by Jack Finney. In the story, a man risks his life by crawling along the edge of his apartment building to retrieve notes from work, only to realize how ridiculous he's being. So he ends up abandoning this pursuit to go spend time with his wife, which was something he loved. The story opened my eyes, but many of my friends actually disagreed with the author's choice of an ending. They insisted that letting the man live and be happy was too simple or basic, so he should have fallen off the building and died. And it seems really funny now, but just imagine having to hear stuff like that every single day, every single time we read a story. I began to notice a pattern. We only seemed to like a story if it had some kind of macabre ending, even if it was poorly written or unnecessary. It's almost as if we are too willing to accept the easy way out because living life outside the anxiety cage is just too demanding and, frankly, horrifying. Because our society pushes us to measure intelligence through these written performances, we begin to identify this anxious pessimism with intelligence itself. Now, I understand that there is more to the world than just grades, and that I was taking some things, such as food, family, friends, shelter, for granted. Of course, I haven't completely mastered the balance between my school and personal life, but I have improved. Now, I don't spend all of my time trying to get into some college that I can't actually afford. And such a small thing has actually made me a lot happier. It may be true that children are taught happy endings to protect them from the harsh truths that they may not be able to handle. But that doesn't mean that happy endings are too naive for an adult. Death and pain are deep and thoughtful concepts, but they're not the only ones. It takes a certain level of intelligence and maturity to understand that the world contains devastating imperfections. It takes another level of intuition and wisdom to fully believe that this is all part of a larger cycle, one that ends with good. Without the capability to see beyond what is thrown at us, we will just suffer in our cages until they become our coffins. Anguish can serve to deepen and strengthen hope, joy, and love, but only if we're able to accept them. Thank you.